Hey guys, it's YOU WACK, and as you guys know, or maybe you guys don't know, this up-and-coming Sunday at 4 Pacific Standard Time, Season 8 finally comes to an end. So just a reminder, if you want to try to climb, get to that next rank, and just try to get some competitive points, then that's how much time you have. But that also means the Mercy meta is completely ended because, well, that's what Season 8 was all about. But that's not going to stop us from preparing for Season 9 and still talk about the meta and still talk about heroes that you can play for Season 9. Now, a little bit ago, I made a video talking about what the future Season 9 meta is going to be looking like, and I really hope people didn't misinterpret that, saying like, this is the only way that you can play Overwatch, this is the only thing that's going to be happening on 2CP and hybrid maps. No, that's not the only thing. However, teams that are coordinated and teams that knows what they're doing versus teams that are not coordinated, that's the type of meta that is probably going to work, which is going to be the quad meta. Now, I kind of explained what the quad meta is and how it kind of works. If you want to go check that video out, you totally can, because what today's video is going to be is kind of backpacking on that idea, which is going to be talking about the best heroes to use for Season 9. Now, the reason why I make this video is to just show you guys there's other options whenever it comes to like the future season, because every single season I always think there's always 4 different options of heroes, which is going to be offense heroes, defense heroes, tanks, and also supports. And beforehand, the previous seasons was always usually dominated by one single hero in one single category, but that doesn't mean you can't use other heroes in different categories. Same thing for Season 9, and same thing for different heroes, you know? So really, it doesn't mean that you can't use the heroes that you used to. It doesn't mean just because I suggest one hero in the offense category besides Genji, that doesn't mean you can't use Genji. I'm just saying if you're having a hard time and struggling with Genji, then maybe try something else because of what's going on in the meta. So again, I'm going to be looking at all 4 categories. I'm going to be talking about the heroes that might dominate, but not necessarily just take over, and that's like the must pick whenever you pick someone in that category. It's just an option, my boy. So going into the heroes, the first hero we're going to be looking at is going to be in the offense category, and I'm going to be honest, the offense category has just a wide range of heroes that you can use and still see great success at if you know how to use them correctly, because there's so many ways that you can use offense heroes incorrectly, and if you're the first to die, homie, you're doing it wrong. That's the first way that you know that you need to get off offense. But the best hero to use in the offense category, I'm going to be honest, is going to be Reaper. So Reaper, I think, is going to be seeing a great spike in usage just because tanks are in such a prevalent spot. Tanks, like again, the quad tank meta is going to be very prevalent, but that doesn't mean it's always going to be ran. But if 3 tanks are ran, or even 2 heavy tanks that really don't know what they're doing, or maybe they do know what they're doing, are going to be scared going against a Reaper. That's like the main factor of Reaper being like one of the best like picks, I'm using air quotes, picks from the offense category. Overwatch is heavily built around the counter system of rock, paper, scissors. You pick scissors, where you're going to pick rock. If you pick rock, you're going to pick paper. In this case, tanks are the rock, and paper is going to be Reaper. However, just because you pick Reaper, just because they're running quad tank, or heck, even triple tank, and you pick Reaper, that doesn't necessarily mean you win the game. Like, oh my god, we pick Reaper. No, it's not like that. But what it's there for is to, one, scare off the tanks, make it sure that, hey, we can't run triple tank, we can't run quadruple tank, and especially if you're doing good and you're getting kills, they're going to recognize that. But what that's also going to do is just kind of force them to play different heroes that maybe they're not comfortable with. And when they see a Reaper on the playing field, they definitely know, hey, the reason why Reaper is on the field is to counter us tanks. And Reaper is going to really excel when countering someone like Roadhog, someone like Diva, or heck, even someone like Zarya and Reinhardt, even though those 2 heroes are kind of there supposed to counter Reaper. Zarya more or less than Reinhardt, but you get what I'm trying to say. All I'm saying is, if you're a Genji main and you love to play Genji, but you see on the enemy team that they have a Zarya, a Winston, and a Symmetra, maybe you shouldn't be playing that offense hero. I'm not saying that in like a way like, hey, I hate you Genji mains. I'm just saying you're the main DPS, and if they have many answers to you, like if they're taking a test and they studied last night, try to throw something else out. That was a terrible metaphor. All I'm saying is Reaper is good counter for those types of heroes, especially if they have fat, unprotected tanks, which is a Winston and a Roadhog. Winston does have protection, but still, Reaper is there to counter those tanks. Now, I spent a lot of time on Reaper in the offense category just because people love to play offense heroes, and people don't know the correct answer, and especially if tanks are going to be so prevalent, but not just the only prevalent hero, Reaper is going to be the answer to that. But what about the defense category? Because this is something I always struggle with every single season, because, well, every single hero is seen as a throw hero. You pick a Widowmaker, you miss your shots, you're not going to get kills. You pick Hanzo, oh yeah, he's definitely thrown. You pick a Torbjorn, well, he's just jumping off the map. But someone that isn't always the worst answer, especially on payload maps, especially to shred through these shield tanks like Orisa and Reinhardt, is gonna be the dude Bastion. Now, for the past 3 seasons, I always listed Junkrat to be the best defense hero, and he's still great. This is a situation where it doesn't mean you can't still use Junkrat, but Bastion is a good hero, especially if you're gonna be using these big, beefy tanks, just because you have so much meat right in front of you to protect the Bastion. And what's one thing that's always gonna be protecting the Bastion? Sometimes a Mercy, yes, but it's gonna be these heavy tanks like a Reinhardt, like an Orisa shield on the payload because you can move it. You know, again, this is all just kind of backpacking off the fact that they're either going to be running triple tanks or quadruple tanks, and one way to counter it, or one way to play it, is with a Bastion. If you're on Route 66, if you're moving the payload through King's Row, Bastion's one of those heroes where it's not always the answer, but sometimes if they have double like shields, like an Orisa and a Reinhardt, you need some firepower, and that's either going to be through a Junkrat or through a Bastion. Sometimes a Reaper and a Soldier, but that's not heavy enough. Bastion is one of those heroes that has sustainability, that has armor, and also has some great DPS that can even still take out someone like a Pharmacy, or take out these heavy tanks, or just someone like that. So again, Bastion isn't the worst answer, but he's seen some shining light in some recent seasons. Oh boy, okay, the tanks. So tanks aren't a good spot. There's many different answers. If you're a tank main, you're probably widening your horizon of tanks that you can play rather than just different heroes in different categories, just because that's just how it's built. You know, the addition of Maura makes it so that Maura builds her ult fast, and Ana mains can see great success. Even Mercy builds her ult quick and just gives you fast heals. Tanks are very, very well needed and very, very much appreciated, and that's why I'm giving 2 different spots, because even if you don't run quadruple tanks or even triple tanks for that matter, you still probably need 2 tanks, which is going to be a main tank and which is going to be a secondary tank. Now, the difference between the two, a main tank is there to protect the team, take some hits, but not really go in and get DPS. The off tank is someone that is DPS, someone that's maybe going to protect the team, but really there is just going to go and get some kills. A main tank is someone like a Reinhardt, is someone like an Orisa. If you're running a dive comp, is someone like a Winston. Winston's in a weird spot right now as terms of what kind of tank, but that's what he's there for. An off tanks, a greedy tank more or less, is someone that's going to go get kills, so that's someone like Roadhog, that's someone like Diva, that's someone like Zarya, because she's kind of there to protect the team and get DPS. Just think of it like that. Now, I explain that just because I'm going to give 2 different tanks that you can use in Season 9 to see great success. The first one is going to be someone like Reinhardt. Reinhardt's shield is so much needed. Reinhardt is back in the meta, baby. Just because even if you're running quad tank, triple tank, or you just need some protection, a shield is always well needed. Even if they have a Junkrat, you just need to negate that firepower that's coming to you. If they have a Soldier, a Pharah, a Bastion, a Torbjorn even, they're going to rain havoc if you have a bunch of greedy tanks. So that's why Reinhardt is a much needed and a much appreciated tank if you're pushing on a 2CP or hybrid maps, or heck, even control maps. Now, for the second spot for the tanks, again, it's very hard because a lot of these tanks are great. You know, I listed Zarya for the past couple of seasons just because she was so powerful, but now we're seeing other tanks emerge for what they're kind of needed, and I'm going to list Diva as the best secondary tank to try to use. That doesn't necessarily mean you can't use Winston. Winston's one of the best tanks right now. It just takes a certain Winston to know how to use him effectively, because someone like me, I'm going to dive in as Winston at the wrong time and feed, and that's not what you want to do as a tank. But someone like Diva, she has the firepower, she has the potential to use DPS, and she's very mobile. That's the biggest problem whenever it comes to these tanks, is that they're very slow, and they have that big troublesome of like, oh, not being very mobile. Someone like Roadhog, Zarya, Reinhardt, but at least Diva has the potential to go around and peel and negate any firepower that's going towards your squishies with a defense matrix, and she also has her rockets. She can fly around and just bing, 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 just shoot a bunch of people. So tanks, they're in a good spot. Use a Winston when you can, use a Roadhog when you can if you need to hook someone in and shoot someone, and use a Zarya especially around tight areas like alleyway on King's Row, or maybe someone like Hollywood or whatnot, even though it's a little bit more open, but more or less on the first point. And finally, the support category, Maura. Maura is gonna be taking over the meta. I know Mercy took over the meta for the past like 4 seasons or whatnot, but that's just because, first of all, as a healer, she gave consistent heals, and she also gave damage boosts, but the reason why she was so needed was her ultimate. Her ultimate gave her 2 reses, and that was so powerful. Now she only gets 1 res every 30 seconds, and just because I've suggested Maura doesn't mean you can't use Mercy, but what's so great about Maura is that, well, first off, as a healer, she's great because you don't need the perfect perfect aim to still give consistent heals. Whenever it comes to Ana, the reason why I don't really like listing her is because not everyone has the perfect aim whenever they play healer, but that's so important. That's the most important role on the field, is to make sure everyone's alive. But if you're Maura, you just have to paint them a little bit, and over time, it gives them heals. So it gives them fast, consistent heals, but that also comes with great DPS potential whenever it comes to Maura. She can give great heals and get a lot of kills, and that's something Mercy really couldn't do because she's taking up a spot of the primary healer, and that's all she really could do. She's not really there for DPS, and that put a lot of pressure on DPS players because, well, hey, now there's only 5 players that can get kills, but with Maura, you get fast heals, consistent heals, a great ultimate because not only can it give also fast heals, give great damage, but also there's a 6th person that can get a lot of kills. Now, again, just because I list Maura doesn't mean you can't play a Lucio, doesn't mean you can't play a Mercy, a Zenyatta, any other heal. If you're an Ana main, Anas are going to prevail, but it just takes a lot of good aim. Maura is the jack of all trades whenever it comes to that, but especially for people without good aim, such as myself. And those are the heroes that are going to be great in Season 9. I'm starting to see a trend with these videos where I have to suggest other heroes on top of the heroes I suggest, and that's a good sign because that means Overwatch is getting kind of balanced. Now again, Maura can be seen as OP, someone like Winston could be seen as OP, but there's other tanks, there's other heals that you can use, but that doesn't mean there's not better answers to the majority of the meta, and I'm using air quotes because again, you don't always have to follow the meta. But let me know what heroes you're going to be playing in Season 9 because I feel like Season 9 is going to be a good one. It's going to be very interesting, and the teams that coordinate the most or that talk the most, I feel like are going to prevail, especially with the quad tank meta or even with the triple tank meta because dive is still good, but now you can dive on the ground with all these heavy tanks. So I'm very excited. So again, Bastion, Reaper, what was it, Reinhardt, and Diva, and Maura, those are my picks, but that doesn't mean you can't use other heroes, and that makes Season 9 pretty good season. So I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching more Overwatch videos to come, and bye.